Yo, what's up? What's up, YouTube? I don't make YouTube videos. My name is Dan. I'm about to make a quick video. It's gonna be a reaction to Billy Carson against West Huff. They apparently went at it, and apparently West Huff supposedly kicked Billy Carson's butt, and he made him look crazy. And I was like, no way, how? Like, yo, Billy Carson, how he can be fake? So I went, did my Googles, just watched the interview with Joe Rogan. I honestly didn't like the guy right away. I don't like, I didn't like his vibe, I didn't like his style, and he was too cocky. He was like, was that even a debate? Went to the debate, obviously was disappointed already because I'm like, damn, Billy, yo, come on, Asian technology. And I watched the vibe, and I'm about an hour into it, and I'm like, no, this is they try to cancel Billy. They trying to cancel Billy. They trying to make him look bad. They trying to make him look crazy. They trying to make, and unfortunately, he fell for it. Billy, don't worry about it. Keep your head up if you're watching this. Go hard, baby. Say the truth. You're saying the truth. Don't turn. Yo, put back the comments. We gotta go hard, baby. You're getting close, and remember, when you're getting close, like they get mad at you and they try to Michael Jackson you. They try to make you look crazy like Britney Spears. Come on, Billy. I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. And I feel like that this whole thing was a setup. Unfortunately, you fell for it, but no problem. Just we all make mistakes, baby. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. You know that's life, baby. Come on, come on. This is for Billy. Come on. And if you fuck with Billy, go comment on his shit, cause yo, Billy has been putting work, man, and he deserves his success. And they made him look crazy over here. Billy, I know what you meant, right? So the whole thing with Billy and this guy, Billy came off with basically stating some stories about the Sinai Bible and the Gospel of Barnabas, which West Huff proceeds to say like those were forgeries, right? But Billy's not saying like this is what I believe what's in this book. He goes on to say like, bro, there's like 5-10% of the whole story. I don't know why you're going into this whole argument about 2 hours and you coming back to say that this is why you gotta verify the facts, and you can't just accept the truth, and you can't just say anything because, and he goes into the whole thing, and Billy tells him like, yo, bro, that's like 5-10% of the whole story. You're not explaining the Giza pyramids. You're not explaining Machu Picchu. You're not explaining Eastern Island. You just get stuck into these things, right? So I feel like he made that mistake of like coming into his world and mentioning these two books and the Sinai Bible and the Gospel of Barnabas, and he proceeds that to say that they're forgeries, right? But then when you look at it from a perspective, what's a forgery, right? You don't know what the fuck is a forgery. You wasn't there when that was written. You don't, West Hub, you don't know that. What's a forgery? You decide that's a forgery. Who decides what's a forgery? Let's go back to freedom of speech. What's freedom of speech? Facebook decides that, Google decides that, the government decides that, you decide that, I decide that. Same thing happened with paper. Whoever won wrote things, and believe me, they out here to confuse you. They're here to confuse me. They trying to make you look crazy. They're trying, nah, but we're not gonna fall for that, because what they do is they play with your emotions and they're trying to make you look crazy, make you look stupid. Let's stay to the facts. Let's stick to two things: gold and megalithics. Let's stick to these two things: gold, megalithics. Gold and megalithics, right? So let's go on, right? So this is minute 10:30. Billy's
prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So, when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to?
Now he's saying when you refer, he wasn't referring to the Bible. He was just kind of giving an example of a story in terms of the crucifixion. He wasn't referring to it like, was in this book, I believe. No, he was just like giving an example. But this guy is like what you refer to. You understand what I'm saying? He's playing mind games. He has an agenda. Smart guy over here. He knows how to set the whole shit up. And if you're not smart with it, you fall for it. Now, I have a deep understanding of, let me tell you something, right? I have a deep understanding of spiritual ancestral knowledge, right? Me, I'm Ecuadorian, and I'm a Native American per se. My Inca, Native Inca American, right? And as you know, we were conquered by the Spaniards. But I always wonder why they conquered a whole continent where there were so many people, and why they harvested gold. Remember, gold and megalithics. Gold and megalithics. So I was fascinated why gold was so important to the Native Americans. And then if you look all over the world, gold is gold, baby. Gold goes to the temple. Gold goes to the temple. In every single religion, gold goes to the temple. Always. So my whole fascination started with the gold, right? So when I'm hearing this guy talk about the past, he's neglecting like continents. Africa, Americas. He's just focusing on the Middle East and what he refers to as Israel, Palestine, or whatever, because he makes reference to that. And let's get back to the video, but I just wanted to put that little note, right? So I have questions. This is my foundation. So when Billy Carson is doing all these things, he's connecting some dots for me. Now I understand what Wes Huff is doing because I believe in God. I believe in Jesus is Christ. I believe that Jesus was born a man, and through being a man, he showed that it was possible to overcome the weaknesses that we as humans have. And through accepting that crucifixion, which is, in my opinion, being born, we get to be born again. And we also get to experience the glory of God because we are created in his image. So I believe in all these things, right? But I believe this guy has an agenda. Plus, if you're really, really Christian, this guy is happy that he's taking this guy down. Now, why would you be happy about taking someone down? Christians don't think like that. We uplift each other. Hey, if you're wrong with something, let me teach you where you're wrong. And let me tell you, tell me how I'm wrong. And let's put it together. Now, let's go talk to a bunch of people. Let's read the books. Let's see the data. Let's learn. I'm human. You're human. We'll learn. You progress. I progress. You feel what I'm saying? So I just didn't like that. Like I said, I don't make YouTube videos, but I want to post this. And hey, bro, if you subscribe, I might make more videos. I might give you a little microphone and really, really get into depth with this because we can't just say like, oh, that's crazy, bro. Who did these things? And I feel like the answer is in gold and megalithics. I might even make that the YouTube channel, gold and megalithics. That should be the main theme. Because when we get caught up on religion and who said this and who said that, you're losing the point. Gold and megalithics ties everything together at the end. Everything else is an illusion. Everything else is a game, right? So let's get back to it, right? So Billy goes into mentioning Sinai Bible, whatever. Yeah, you could say they're forgeries, but who is saying that is a forgery? So right off the jump, he's trying to make him look crazy. Billy's being nice, coming into his world.
To Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes. Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library, so you can go and see it. It's on display, and the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my link.
This guy works with manuscripts. Billy Carson works with stones. Who would you trust? Somebody who works with paper or someone that works with stone?
Linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture.
Early Christian scribal culture. What the fuck does that even mean? You was there when the first motherfucker decided to scribble something and now you're the expert?
Particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have I have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what
He says, I have this codex from the Britannica, whatever. You know who writes the books. You know who writes the books, the ones with the agenda. And they say, you got to believe my version because I wrote it. And if it's here, it's true. You got to believe that. Come on, man. We're not brainwashed.
I'm addressing is actually what you mean,
Gotcha.
and not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript.
Mhm.
It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there.
See, he's saying it denies the crucifixion or the crucifix. He's not denying it, bro. He never denied it. What he's saying is, don't take the book too literal. Like, the book is like a Disney story. The Bible's like a Disney story. And you gotta think outside the box. Who writes history? The winners, right? Like, and you cannot lie. There's something evil in the world that confuses Christians, Muslims, and that puts us against each other. There's something evil that wants you and me to be sick, and something evil that's taking away the core value of a family. Who makes pornography? Free pornography, something that wants to corrupt. This is real. This is not my belief. There's something real that wants to corrupt everything out there, right? So if we, and that infiltrates everything. So I love God and I believe in the Bible, right? But who's not to say that there are certain things that are in there, like for example what he was saying is like, you know, in terms of the crucifixion, there's something like, for example, right, the Talmud, right? The Talmud is a Hebrew book. The Talmud talks about children. The Talmud talks about, you know, wild things. And also the Old Testament talks about having slaves. So these are books. And if you want to say, oh yeah, they're great inspirement for humanity, no, these books had a lot of wild stuff in it. And they had to be an updated version. Now don't get me wrong, I believe 100% in the word of God. But you can't take the Bible at its core value. It's a book of, if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's if you know, you know. It's a spirit thing. And I feel like it's coming off with the wrong vibe.
I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, you know, say Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or you know, the
Right, and then he goes back into, oh, that, look, what you said is here.
John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the like viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking at.
While he's pulling that up too,
So that's what he's pulling out the book, and just, you know, that's not his book, but obviously he's pulling it up just to show him, and then obviously he tell him that's the Barnabas book, and that he's telling him that's a forgery and whatever, right? So that was kind of like how it started. So therefore it made it seem like everything else he was saying, like, it was fake. Like, he, no, bro, like you that wasn't what he was doing, right? So then we go into.
in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee, and the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that evidence of it prior to the 14th phrases, Dante's phrases, don't find there not being a route from the Jordan River to like around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. And I think a bigger problem
indicates what?
Is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So
he's talking about 1314, bro. Billy Carson was definitely not talking about 1314, was Huff. Billy Carson definitely was not talking about 1314. You made it about you, Wes Huff. You made it like you're saying this stuff. And no, bro. Come on, if you know Billy Carson, you know damn well he's not thinking about no 1314. He's thinking about 10,000 years ago. Come on.
There's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas. Never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century.
He never argued for that to be his factual thing. He was telling their similar stories to the Sumerian stories on these books that I read that you probably could relate because you're a Christian. So Billy's coming to Wes Huff's world and he's giving him, literature to be like, all right, boom, have you read that? Yeah, check it out. Boom, that. Yeah, right. Boom.
And that's also in the Bible. Language other than Middle Age Italian Italian and Spanish. But the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then
so he says it disqualifies it from being ancient, right? He never talked about that was the ancient thing. The ancient thing, Billy, we talk about it's the pyramids, Machu Picchu, Teotihuacan, Eastern Island. You know what I'm saying? So he wants to forget about all this ancient stuff just because this little Barnabas story is forgery or whatever he's saying. We're not talking 1,300 years ago, Mr. Wes Huff. We're talking ancient history. If you don't know, his Instagram is ancient knowledge. We're not talking about Greek knowledge. We're not talking like 2,000 years ago knowledge. You're talking about that. You're making it about that. You're factoring your information on papyrus papers that you have in the Britannica that were the original text from when Paul gave this to that and does to that. You're the one that's saying these are the papers that this guy wrote 900 years ago, and I saw the papers and I studied the language, and because I study, I could tell you. You're basing it on paper. We're basing it based on stone, megalithics. Have you been to these megalithics? Have you been to Machu Picchu? Have you been there? Have you been to Teotihuacan to see the snake form in the spring and the winter equinoxes? Have you been there? I mean, it might not be on the equinoxes, but I'm talking about that snake. Like, I know about these things, but I'm not like a scholar about these things. I'm just like I just love blowing it up, you know what I'm saying? Throwing it in the air, smoking a little bit, and then just educating myself, So let's get back into it. So I didn't like this.
Like paraphrasing Dante, at all. Or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages.
And once again, Billy's not talking about Middle Ages and Jubilee. So this guy is making it like, oh, you're saying this wrong. So that was one thing, right? So now let's move on from this. Let's go to minute 21:51. I felt like he says something else. Let's get to that.
That's his wife. And Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her. And she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form. And the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text of that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife. So I just point that out is, once again, with our sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're going towards not just early sources, but actually credible sources.
So what are your credible sources, West Hub? A paper? That's your credible source? A paper from 900 years ago? I believe in God, and I believe the word of God. I read it. Ezekiel 25:12. That's my thing. 25:17. Ezekiel. So you talking about, oh, we got to go back to credible sources. So where's your credible sources for the builders of the Giza pyramid? What are your credible sources for the builders of Machu Picchu? What are your credible sources for Eastern Island? What are your credible sources for Teotihuacan? And there are multiple things in Japan that are underwater, in Asia, temples in India, and things that I probably don't even know. Mr. West Hub.
And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actual and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody.
Agreed on by the vast amount. You see, that's how they do, right? Oh yeah, it's agreed by experts. I'm an expert. You gotta believe me. You gotta believe me. I'm an expert. Remember what they told you about them? Remember what they told you about these things? How you gotta believe in them? You gotta believe in them because I'm an expert.
In the field of
So that was
papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that.
And Billy says, yo, that's fair enough. I could respect that. He tells him, I could respect that. That's what you believe. I could respect that. He's not, yo, you know what I'm saying? He's not saying like, yo, this is my belief. This is my, yo, you know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, fair enough. I could respect that. Billy tells the man, fair enough. I could respect that.
So let's go into the Old Testament a little bit. Predominantly from
So now he's saying, right, since you believe in the Bible,
my research, I discovered that a lot of information from the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation is a lot of the in Genesis, a lot of the creation story that comes into Genesis. Not all of it, but because obviously it's a smaller.
So he's saying, you know how there's like, you know, these all ancient tales, and you know how a lot of these, not all of it, but some of these stories relate to Genesis, the Bible.
Genesis is a much smaller version of a much bigger story.
And he mentions him that Genesis is a much smaller version of a much bigger story.
But it's literally almost word for word from the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation. The Epic of Atrahasis as well is also there in the Old Testament. Several other tablets as well.
And keep in mind, we're talking about tablets. Billy Carson's talking about clay tablets. Clay tablets. West Hub is talking about paper. Now, if you know about clay tablets, back in the days, they would do clay tablets. And that was how shit was communicated. Now we moved on from that and we did to paper. Now, which one you think is easier to manipulate? Paper or tablets? So obviously Billy Carson don't have the tablet. So he has to buy the book of the translation of the tablet. And obviously we don't speak the languages of the tablet, so we make the best from that. I think it's I forget the name of the language from the Sumerians.
Hammurabi and a few others have made it into that text. Sumerian cylinder scrolls that talk about the creation story. Again, the creation story in the Epic of Atrahasis. And so we tend to see this copying of ancient tablets, text, and scriptures, even some papyruses.
So you see the copying of the ancient tablets. Now he's not saying that the Bible came from the ancient tablets, but what he's saying there's the ancient knowledge, ancient story, how the megalithics, ancient things that are stories that preceded the Bible, and then when the Bible came around 1300 or whenever they say he came around 2000, I don't know about this stuff. Keep in mind, please, I'm just passionate about these things and I have my perspective. If I'm wrong, please educate me. I'm not claiming I'm right. I'm here to learn with you. So, so he's mentioning like a lot of these tablets are so Billy again coming to his world. These story, this tablet, this tablet, this tablet. It's in Genesis in this way, this way, this way. So he goes to tell him.
Into the biblical text, meaning that my point here is that I think a lot of people are saying that this information was written in real time. A lot of people believe that. If you ask the average person, they really believe that. But a lot of this information is just copied from older tablets and texts from an earlier date. That's what I found. That it's made it into the canonized Bible, but they never reference that they got it from any other ancient texts and tablets that have to do with
So
a totally different civilization with totally different religious beliefs.
So that's what he was saying. Like okay, there's a lot of stories here that they fail to reference where they got the original reference from, and where he's saying these references are these tablets, not paper. West Hub, you study paper. My guys study tablets. Now I don't know how to read these tablets. I haven't been there, but I watched a lot of these things, and hey, if you guys subscribe, I'm willing to go and do the research and I will share the whole journey with you guys because I'm willing to work. I'm willing to put in the work. I'm not no lazy fuck. And I see malice in the perspective of West Hub and how he's trying to take this guy's work down, and I don't like it. I don't appreciate it because you should always respect people's perspective. Now, your perspective is that, and you want to believe in UFOs, Joe Rogan. That's fine. And I didn't like how Joe Rogan was saying like, "Oh yeah, like you crazy." They were trying to make him look crazy. Like Joe Rogan, like I'm not liking this. It felt so bad today because these are people I look up to, and like we should always uplift each other, not try to tear each other down, right? You know what I'm saying? And if someone is wrong, teach them. Don't make fun of people. You know, if I'm wrong, please teach me. So,
have you read the Anubis?
Yeah, I've done lectures.
Do you mind? Sure. Do you mind summarizing the content of the creation account in the New Belief for us?
Now, once again, right? So now he tells her, okay, please summarize what you read into the whole thing, right? Obviously, the summary is going to be the interpretation open to your interpretation, my interpretation, your interpretation, and the original translation. So it may vary, right? But what he's saying that there are some similarities that eventually end up in the church, such as the separation of water.
And that's more evidence that something came through our solar system in ancient times and gravitationally really tugged at planets here and switched up their orbits and even pulled the axis of a planet on its own side.
So this is basically the Sumerian story about how we
running north and south. So
the solar system got created.
Modern astrophysics kind of backs up
the astrophysics
text is saying. But the Enumilish also then begins to talk about the fact that these beings, it kind of cuts into the fact that these beings, are on Earth and at some point begin to engage mankind. In other words, they didn't create people from scratch, but they engaged the existing hominid and began to utilize us as workers for their workforce. In the Atrahasis epic, you see a much similar story. Slightly later date period, but still thousands of years old, the epic of Atrahasis. And we see a very similar story. And we see where the sons of God literally came down to Earth. They came from Mars, according to this text. If you read the translation of the planet Mars and to English. And then they went to battle. They were going to go to battle in South Africa.
So, that's the whole Anunnaki story. If you understand his whole concept, and then let's get to minute 29. Minute 29, I think that's his beliefs. And when he states, okay, this is what I believe, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like,
just cut up on the inside like a pie. That was discovered about 4 or 5 years ago. I believe it's at the British Museum. So there's a lot of text that's just been covered and copied over into the biblical text. And I think that, in my personal opinion, a lot of people are just became a cargo cult, worshiping people that were masquerading as gods. I do believe in God, by the way. Let me make this clear. I believe in God. I believe there's a creator of the universe. I believe that the mathematics, the quantum physics, all proves that. The fact that we're here, I believe this universe is imbued with a divine energy and a divine
So you see, this is telling him, I believe in God. But this guy over here, Wes Huff, is like, no, you got to believe in God the way I believe in God. The way you believe in God is wrong. That's crazy. Bro, believe in God the way you believe in God. As long as it's loving, pure, giving, and you want to uplift humanity, the same belief is the same belief. God is one God.
Spark that lives inside of all of us. I just don't believe that the God of the Bible is truly the creator of the universe. I don't think that God needs money. I don't think that God needs.
Sure. Do you mind if I just jump in here for a second? Because I think we've kind of gone on from the original question. I appreciate that. I do have.
So you see how he over here says, oh, I think we got off the original question. I think we got off of the original question. So what is the original question? The original question is confusion, mislead, try to make him look crazy, try to say that, oh, that little thing that you said it's fake Barnabas story, but he's not even talking about the Barnabas story. He was just trying to tell you something that you relate to because he's talking about some other stuff. So he's saying, hey, look, you read that book. Okay, look, I read these books, and look, those stories kind of match some of the similar stories that you have in the Bible, and let's chop it up from there. But you chose to, no, you're wrong. Oh, Barnabas is a forgery, and that was a fake story, and this is the Britannica original paper, and because I have this paper, I know the facts. And I'm an expert, and I don't like that. That's not a good vibe, man. That sounded like all that inclusivity bullshit they promoting, all this woke agenda stuff. Like I just didn't like that, man. It just didn't feel right. It didn't, it's just when you don't feel right, you don't feel right.
Few issues with your summary, although I think I have read the Akkadian version. My Akkadian's not great, but I sat down with a seriologist friend and we walked through it a couple of years ago.
So he talked about how he read the thing, but his linguistics and that on that whatever language is Akkadian is not even good. But he sat down and he kind of read it.
I think that there are components of what you said that I would say are in there. I'm not sure it's the best summary. Nonetheless, okay, going with what you said that there were like verbatim parallels with the biblical creation story. Even just going off of what you said, which I think there are components of that I would agree with, the Battle of the Gods, the concept of Enki and the younger gods, and they fight Tiamat. And
so that's all he was saying. There's components that are similar to the Bible that I'm studying, that are ancient, that are from different parts of the world. That's all he was saying, bro. He wasn't saying that he don't believe in God or he don't believe in the crucifixion, but he was just saying history or reality as you think it is might not be. And if there's a chance that there's people or there's life outside of Earth, there's a good chance that what we know here on Earth, it's unknown. And when you don't have an open mind to that and you want to say, no, my paper says this is true, you're crazy. Oletepeki, they're just finding cities that are covered in mud that got flooded a long time ago. Africa, you see them from space. How many things you think are hitting in the Amazons just covered by trees? This guy wants to talk about paper. We talk about megalithic stones. They still here, they still standing. And they're built, you know what I'm saying, in incredible ways. And please, Mr. Wes Huff, I want you to go do all your methodology. I challenge you to put all the beautiful things that you're talking about, Mr. Carson, to methodology systems, and you got to go find the facts. Please go find who built the pyramids. Who did Machu Picchu? Please, Mr. Guy, Mr. Expert, please go consult with all your experts and give us the paper with all the facts, because we want to know how the megalithics was. We want to know how Machu Picchu was built. I want to know how the Giza pyramids were built. I want to know how Teotihuacan was built. I want to know how Eastern Island was built. Since you're so expert at finding things with paper, let's please find those things, right? So that was his thing. So he wanted to come back into like, you're stating this from, so he made it seem like you're stating this, but this book is false.
then Marduk, who swears he'll defeat Tiamat, and Kwenku.
But he was never saying that. He was just coming into your world and he would just give you an example. And you made it seem like his whole beliefs came from, oh, he read this one book in Amazon. You wanted to spin it like that. You guys wanted to spin it like, oh, he bought this book on Amazon. Now he believes in this crazy shit. No, bro. He's saying, okay, you believe in the Bible. I got a crazy book too that I read because I can't buy the clay tablet and that's the freaking English translation. My guy don't speak that language.
Who kills Tiamat by shooting her with an arrow, and there's this big battle.
So you went into, you understood all this other stuff. You wanted to make it seem like you learned all this other stuff, whatever, right? So you agree with some of these ancient tales that are not in the Bible or that are similar in the Bible that somehow, some way are also outside the Bible. You agree with that. That's minute 30. So let's get into minute 34.
And then it was very good. And then he creates humanity, not kings, but simply the humans that he creates in God's image. And they have purpose and meaning, and that instills them with this creation order. And that's not what we find in the Enum Elish. In fact, we find the opposite in the Enum Elish, is that the created order is not good, it's a mistake, and that you are not created in the image of God. And there's a reminder that regular people are not created in the image of God.
So he's trying to make it seem like, yo, this is the book that I believe, but the book that you believe says that you are not created. Bro, he's not saying that. He was just saying there was a similar tale that's here and is also there. And you're going on the outlier and saying, but your book says this. Bro, he's not saying this is the book that I believed on. He was just giving an example. And he ran away with that.
Linguistically, I mean, Hebrew does have Semitic ties with Akkadian.
Linguistically, in Hebrew, Akkadian. Now, what happened with the pyramids? You know what language is written on the pyramids? All them hieroglyphics? What language is that? What was before that? All of a sudden, what? That Hebrew was the first language and everything came from there? I mean, if you want to make it like that, it could be like that. But then who built the pyramids? Who did Machu Picchu? Who did Teotihuacan? Who did Eastern Island? Who did Isla Tepeque, whatever the thing in Africa?
It doesn't with Sumerian. Sumerian is a language isolate, a glutenizing language. But I would say, just with all due respect, the parallels linguistically are not there. There might be.
He was never making parallels. Like, look, this linguistically are not there. Like this guy gets caught up on the linguistics, bro. We're talking about stones. You're talking about linguistics. We're talking about stones, megalithics.
He's superficial.
So that was 34, right? So he agreed with that. A lot of this, some of these tales that you talk about, yes, they are right. And this is kind of, they went into it. I don't want to go too crazy into that because then they went into creation, and then let's go into minute 35, right? So I feel like here's when I kind of started seeing that there was like an agenda. It was around minute 35, 30. I was like, okay, this is weird, right?
Concepts that are there, but they're so superficial that we can find them in everything. In the sense of, I'm in my office studio, you're in your office studio. That doesn't mean that that we're the same people or we're even in the same place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. I just see if I have all these texts out, there's a lot of different information that you can see. There's a lot of it's been copied word for word into the biblical text.
But what's word for word?
In your version of what you believe in.
And I think that's what he messed up because he was like, what's word for word? Like, that thing messed up there.
Saying he, God's a he.
Yep.
And so where do you get that
from? Well, throughout both the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament, you have the masculine singular pronoun used for God.
And why is God a man? Where's the evidence of this?
Well,
and he not only a man, he's a Hebrew man.
Well, God isn't a man. See, within historical Christianity, we don't believe that God has a gender. However, the way that he has decided to reveal himself is through the masculine plural, and then ultimately by becoming a human
The
in the
gender.
person of Jesus Christ. So we don't believe that God has a gender. In fact, the fact that God creates humanity in his image and he creates them male and female, those are two aspects of the image of God, and so that's the completeness. So historical Christianity has never argued that God is gendered. Jesus is gendered in the sense that during the incarnation, he becomes a human man, but he's still fully man and fully God. But God is spirit, and right, as the scripture says, we worship him in spirit and in truth. But nobody's arguing that. What's that? Sorry?
And he's about people. Nobody. He wasn't arguing nothing. He was just telling, yo, some of these tales, the ancient tales before the Bible, are outside the Bible, and he's saying you're arguing this. You are, bro. He wasn't arguing nothing. You made us. You argued it. He replied back. He said, I don't agree.
That always blows my mind.
God is the same all the time, right? He's always good.
So
God is all the same all the time.
So this one, the agenda started.
Yeah,
kind of
but
like
we do
unfolding.
see that in scripture, God has revealed himself through the masculine plural, and there are aspects of God's character that we see within scripture that do actually communicate. Jesus says that he longs to gather Israel like a mother hen collects her chicks. So we see aspects of the feminine of God, not meaning that God is feminine, but that the image of God reflects both the masculine and the feminine. And that's why when the two become one flesh, there's a uniting of that reflects the image of God as well within
You repeat that, right?
the covenant of marriage.
Do you actually believe that the majority of Christians really believe that God is not masculine, that God has both aspects?
I mean, it's irrelevant what the majority of Christians believe.
It's irrelevant what the vast majority of Christians believe. That's a crazy statement to say. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Come on, bro. That's crazy. It's irrelevant what you think. What you think is irrelevant. But what I tell you, that's relevant. Because what you think is irrelevant. Crazy.
How many would tell you, that God's not a man? They've never been taught this.
Well, I was taught it growing up. I was taught it in when I was a child, when I went to seminary, when I went to Bible college. I was taught it in graduate school. I would say I would say a few things to that. I would say, in one sense, it's irrelevant what the majority of Christians believe, because what historical biblical
It's irrelevant what you believe.
Christianity articulates is what they should believe.
It's because what it articulates, because of what it says, you should believe. It's like social media, man. Whatever you believe is not what you believe, but what we tell you to believe is what you believe. Yo, that's crazy, son. Come on, that's not agenda based. Yo, Billy, I love you. Keep doing your thing. Keep going strong. Come on, baby.
There are Christians who run around saying all sorts of things that are not in conformity to biblical, historical, Orthodox Christianity. And they shouldn't believe that because it's irrelevant. And so
you shouldn't believe that because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe about the pyramids because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe about Machu Picchu because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe about Teotihuacan because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe about Eastern Island because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe in Oblek Pitaki because it's irrelevant. You shouldn't believe in the Velvet thing because it's irrelevant. Stay in line. Stay within your lines. Don't believe the truth. You do what you're told, okay?
So if one Christian believes something that is not
Crazy.
in line with biblical Christianity, I mean, that's on them. So God is not gendered, but he does express through inspired scripture the masculine the masculine pronoun.
That's pretty convenient. I mean, for an all-knowing, all-loving God to understand that human beings are going to take that and abuse it to put their boot on the neck of women for eons. It's pretty interesting. Also, I'm trying to...
And you talk about how in the Bible, in the Old Testament, talk about beating your wife, having slaves, crazy stuff, right? Crazy stuff. So, so what Billy was saying is, you mean to tell me God is so perfect and God wrote the Bible and that whole book is inspired by God, which I believe in the Bible. I believe that, but I don't take the book as literal. Like when I think of Israel in the Bible, for example, I don't think of Israel as, a country. I think of Israel as a population. When I think of Jesus Christ as the Son of God, I don't think of Jesus Son as being a God or the God. I feel like Jesus Christ is me and you. We are born and crucified into the flesh. We learn to be overcome our weaknesses through knowing what they are and through the strength that God gives us through His Word. You know what I'm saying? And uh,
Yeah, I mean, so hold on, let me speak to
Wait,
that
can I
because it
say
is
something
interesting
there
that,
real quick, guys? I have to.
yeah, sure.
so basically that was that, right? So my guy went like that. I felt like that exposed the agenda for me personally. You know what I'm saying? And I just kind of went into that, and then I felt like he made it into about race. He made it into all that woke stuff that we're doing. Like, let's say
Have
that.
an affair, or if they're accused of having an affair. And Jesus, as we know, the famous scene when they were about to stone her, he's like, "He who hasn't sinned, cast the first stone," basically saying no one's perfect. And
That's true.
was the first one that I know of that started like speaking to other tribes and other countries that people weren't supposed to, like, they were so racist and prejudiced, and he
Racist,
this
prejudice.
is where my heart opened up, is like he stood for this love and this God that broke down all these barriers and just flipped what all the scholars and everything was saying on its head.
And first of all, Jesus wasn't God. So you see, this guy is already wrong. Jesus was not God. Jesus was the personification of God in the flesh. This guy's talking about like God.
And that's where I found that
Come on, man.
I believe that he was crucified because he went so far like against the grain at the time.
And that's what they're trying to do to.
I get what you're saying too. Like
to
there's
my
stuff
guy.
where it's like, oh, that's convenient, where human beings can add in that this is there and that's not. But something else that I always was curious. I'm like, if
convenient,
especially
to
the
remove
New
stuff.
Testament, if it was like written by man and stuff and pre-planned, I'm like, I think they would have done a better job of not making a lot of the people so like ignorant. The people that were like literally with Jesus questioned him half the time, like, bro, I don't know if you can do this miracle. And Jesus is like, dude, you just saw me yesterday turn water into wine. And I'm like, if they really, if I was writing a story, I'm like, I want everyone to believe this, I would make the people not like is questionable. It's like they have so many characteristics where the humanity in it is what like always drew me. And like even one thing in the Old Testament that
you're talking about, if I wanted to make this book, I would make them ignorant. And they did. They did make us ignorant. That's why, it's yellow against black. It's blue against red. It's happy against this. It's all like this bullshit. They try to, it's almost like this, it's like a movie for them. It's like a theater for them, right? It's an agenda of confusion.
David
right?
and Goliath
And,
kills Goliath.
The masculine pronoun, and we can
Agenda.
say, sure, that's convenient, maybe, but it is how he has revealed himself to us, and it's not his fault if we abuse that. I mean, we could say, so I grew up in the Middle East. My parents worked in Amman, Jordan, and when I was living in the Middle East, there was a country called the Democratic Republic of Iraq. Now, just because democracy exists and people are going to name things democratic when they obviously aren't, doesn't mean we then judge democracy. I mean, think of the Democratic Republic of North Korea, right? Nobody thinks that that's an actual representation of.
So he's doing confusion, something about like, just because something it says this doesn't mean it says that. Just because it says this doesn't mean it says that. Of course. Just because we vote don't mean that we're actually living what we want. Of course, right? And also he put some hate over here, some Muslim hate. Check it out, and it's sneaky.
Democracy. So people are always going to abuse terms and ideas and concepts. The difference is, though, I think historically within Judeo-Christianity, you have this ethic that we were talking about before that I think is fundamentally different than what we find in
this ethic, right? like all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, we had this ethic, we're so better than everybody else. Come on, be every human is flawed, but we had this ethic.
Things like the Enuma Elish, the Atrasis, and other things, in that we are created in the image of God. And actually, one of the earliest criticisms of Christianity are by individuals like Celsus, who is a Greco-Roman philosopher in the 2nd century, where he accused Christianity of being foolish, dishonorable, and stupid, and he called it the religion of slaves, women, and children. Why? Not because God used the masculine pronoun for himself and people were abusing that, because the concept that Christians believed in of everybody, no matter what your gender, your race, your social standing, Paul says in Christ there is no slave nor free, there is no Jew nor Gentile, there is no Scythian or barbarian, there is no male nor female. These things united people. And we can see there's a historian named Rodney Stark. And in his book, The Rise of Christianity, he actually says that you can track empirically the agency of women across the ancient world by the movement of Christianity. So that, in other words, whenever an area became populated by Christians, we see a direct correlation with the privileges and treatments of women.
So what are you saying? That women don't have privileges in other parts of the world? They treat like animals? We're the best?
Expand in time when the surrounding culture largely didn't view women as being fully human. So I think
I feel like that's a gender based, right? And so let's go to minute 55.
A lot of the literature that you're talking about, Billy, the Enuma Elish, the Atrasis, the Bhagavad Gita, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I've read some of them in their original languages because I've tried to be a good historian and go back into the primary sources. Or if I can't, engage with people like my friends who are Assyriologists, who are philologists, and try to not just go off of a translation, but the original. And
worst breakfast for your waistline.
My God.
Oh,
I got ads, my bad.
I think I found largely the opposite of the conclusions that you have made, Billy. And I know that you are very passionate about what you talk about, and I respect that. I just
see. So he found conclusions. Your conclusions are religious conclusions. Your religions are based on your study of the Bible, and I'm sure you've done amazing research, right? You probably went down centuries, and this paper was written by this guy and this guy, and I'm sure you have all that done correctly. But what's Hub? We're not talking about paper. We're talking about megalithics, Machu Picchu, Teotihuacan, Giza pyramids. These things don't involve papers. So you're wrong with your concept and the way you're analyzing it. But at the same time, you're right. Because you're specializing on your story and your perspective based on historical data that's based on paper and books, biblical books, and that's amazing. I haven't seen your work. I haven't done, hopefully I get some time to go through it, because I read the book and I would love to find out more beautiful things about it, because I believe Christ is King, and I believe that I'm a son of God. I am that I am, and God loves me, and God loves everybody, and this is an amazing journey. So I feel like, that was wrong.
I just think that the confidence might not actually be backed up by the reality of the evidence.
So your reality is basically paper. My reality is Machu Picchu, the Teotihuacan, Giza pyramids. So yes, you did a great job of manipulating it and making it seem like he was wrong, because he obviously it's naive, and I'm sorry, Billy, you kind of fell for this, bro. Like you kind of fell for this, bro.
When we're looking at something like the Sinai Bible, when we're looking at something like the Gospel of Barnabas.
And we was never looking at that Sinai Bible, or we was never looking at that. He just gave those as example about some stories that correlated in the Christian world. And you never built upon that. You just kind of was like, oh, you said this, and that's a forgery. Yeah, it might be a forgery according to you, but why is the Enoch book or the not in the Bible? How many books are not in the Bible? This is the official one? Is this all God said? Is there more? How do you know? How do I know? I don't. But you're making it out here like, oh, you like the official. You put the stamp on and things are done. Come on, B. You read 5 books and you like, nah, come on, B.
And we're looking at something like the Gospel of Jesus' wife. These are things that actually have provenance that we can verify, and ultimately.
He says we could verify this, right? We could verify Giza. I'm gonna go back to that all the time. So that was basically what I wanted to state.
The answers to the questions of the legitimacy or the illegitimacy of those things point to not just a different conclusion, but actually the opposite conclusion, and that Christianity is true.
So you see, he says that Christianity is true. It's like, bro, like he never went against Christianity. This guy made it about. It was almost like, bro, we're not even talking about the same thing. And you know, Billy keeps saying like, bro, like that little thing, it's like 10% of what my whole thing is about. Like that's like you just getting stuck into this, because that's 100% of your world. You don't see Machu Picchu. You don't see Teotihuacan. You don't think about Eastern Island. Them things don't even register through your mind. You think they just magically appear there, and boom, you know what I'm saying? Nah, we ask ourselves, like, how'd that happen? Who built that, right? Boom, how that made? Like, how my God made? How those things happen? You know, so you made it like, oh, Christianity is true. It's true to you. Whatever you believe is true to you. And you should have, if you believe that's true, you should have made an invitation to the brother to come and join you. But you made it seem like you're wrong, I'm right. And no Christian brother does that.
Well, now I'm glad you said that. So those 3 topics are a very small piece of my concept and idea of what really happened in the ancient past. So
right, so he tells him like, yo, bro, like, bro, this is like 1 hour into the argument, because this guy West Huff kept going back to the same BS, and he's like 1 hour into it, like Billy finally got tired. He was like, yo, bro, like that's like 5-10% of what I'm talking about. Like you just keep going back into the circular arguments.
Oh, that's a very small fraction. It's less than 1/10%. You talk about eyewitness accounts to convince you that Christianity is real.
Right? So he was like, a minute 56. Yeah. We have eyewitnesses. Yeah. Paul, Saul. Yeah. And I believe in the Bible, right? And then Billy proceeds to tell him, well, I also have similar examples. And he proceeds to give the examples.
There's been eyewitness accounts of every culture that I've visited around this entire planet, and their eyewitness accounts of what they experienced is 100,000% opposite of what's in the Bible. People have
based on what do you mean? Can you give me an example?
Right here.
The Dogon tribe, for example, in Mali, Africa.
The Dogon tribe. If you don't know about the Dogon tribe, YouTube them.
They experienced a culture that they claim came to this planet from Sirius B. They have the evidence that they knew these beings were from Sirius B because they have the instruments that show the orbit of a trinary star system.
We're talking about astral knowledge, tribe in Africa.
That we couldn't discover until the 1970s with our modern technology, okay? They understood not only the orbital pattern of Sirius A, B, and C, but even that B was a failed star, which you can't see it from Earth with the naked eye. They knew that it was a white dwarf. They even knew that they said that if you took a tablespoon of it, the entire tribe or 1,000 men couldn't lift the tablespoon. They understood mass and gravity as well. They were told the shape, the sizes, and the colors of all the planets in our solar system, which they recorded, and there's only one wisdom keeper, and that person can never be touched by a person. If they get touched by another person, they'd actually be killed.
So he gave them colors, factual information. You could actually go Google, find out the colors and the sizes of all these things. The Dogba tribe, they had these things way back then. And they still have the instruments, and they have like this crazy knowledge about the stars. And they didn't went to college for none of these things. This is facts. This is not made up stuff. So he's saying like, oh, like, bro, no, he's not. Yeah, you say that Paul told you that. So what's up with these guys? They talk about astronomers and stars. All right.
And then they eventually have a mentee that they break down that verbally handed down knowledge to, and that next person then takes over and becomes the wisdom keeper. And they've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And science, modern science, has found all their information to be 1,000% accurate. Then,
so a lot of the stories that these tribes have been talking about the stars, they found out to be true. They found out that the Anunnakis had in the clay tablets all the 9 planets plus 1 extra. And the planets just got discovered like 100 years ago, 50 years ago. They've been having them on clay tablets. So what he was saying is that.
You have the Hopi tribe of the Americas, indigenous tribes, Hopi tribe, Lakota tribe, also having engagements with these quote-unquote star brothers, even having an account of them being taken underground. But you don't see just only in America. I just came back from Turkey. You have the...
He just came back from Turkey. He's traveling to these sites. Where's Huff? You reading books in your dorky ass dorm. When was the last time you went to the sites? Please, I would love for you to travel to these sites. And if your bias an agenda, state that stuff. I have an agenda. But don't be coming out here trying to be sneaky, because we see you.
The people from Turkey and Mesopotamia also being taken underground into a place called Derin Kuyu by these beings, by these people. A structure that's built 12 stories deep underground, that's made out of volcanic tuff, a very soft stone, and if you don't know what you're doing, it'll actually collapse. There's no evidence of any collapse, and it was thousands of years old. It was reused many times, so the mainstream story about what it was used for to hide from Romans is actually false. This place is ancient, and in order to build it, you actually have to have foreknowledge of how to...
So he's giving them examples of ancient places that don't fit into the narrative of the Bible. Now, he's not saying he don't believe in God. He's not trying to be mean to us that believe in Christ. He's not trying to be mean in that. He's just being real. He's just like, yo, bro, you can't take the book for what it is. If you read a book from the 1800s about science, you can't take that book for the facts in like now, because it had like changed. It has changed. We've evolved, changed. Things have changed. The 1800 book is not going to be the same as the book for now. So,
construct this type of an underground civilization that can hold 20 to 30,000 people. It's places for livestock, places
Billy
for
gave him clear examples.
worship with no sign of collapse, and you have to have hundreds of ventilation shafts, and I've been down there. Those ventilation shafts are cut through solid rock all the way down to the core. And there's even more. It links to other underground cities that are miles and miles away. As you get to the very base of this area, you can cut through and go to another location. But again, these people were taken under. Also, then you have the ancient Egyptians. Similar story. Major catastrophe comes. These people come and take them underground. Then you have the information in the Egyptian book of Going Forth by Day. More accounts by people, our ancestors.
So he's talking about like crazy stories from different parts of the world. So Billy's doing a global history thing. Now, Wes, you might be completely right from a Christian perspective, but that's just a Christian perspective. The world is bigger than that. The world was bigger than Galileo and Israel at that time. There was the Americas, there was Africa, there was Asia, there was things going on. How we know? Because there's big megalithics in all these continents. So he's talking about the history of the whole world. Wes, you talk about the history of Christianity, and I'm sure you're right. But my brother was not in your world. You have a whole different vision of the world, and that's perfectly fine. But you was making it seem like he wrong for not believing in what you believe. Whatever you want to believe in, that's beautiful for you. God bless you 2 times. and and whatever we gotta believe in, that's what we're gonna believe in, and that's a beautiful thing. And our job is to love and care and be loving and caring, nurturing and educating others. And if we're wrong, and if we see other people doing wrong, we come off and do a video. I don't do videos. I was just like, I just feel, Wes, you're wrong. I want to make a video, and I wanted to point some things out from my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right neither,
accounts that
but
do not match up with the biblical text. And so all of a sudden we're saying that all these cultures, the Aboriginal people, I can go into them as well. I've gone
Sure,
to
sure.
about to
Do you mind?
In the Outback,
Yeah.
the Aboriginal elders, same thing. They were seated here by Pleiades. This is their verbal handed down history for thousands of years. And I can go around the world and I can come up with all this information from all these eyewitness accounts from people that should be respected, dignified, and shouldn't be scoffed.
So because these people don't come from the Middle East, or these people don't come from the Hebrew, let's forget about those stories. No, there's only this story over here that really matters. Oh, no, the African story, no, we don't need that version. Oh, no, we just need the Middle East version that, like, it's from here version. It's the real version.
We're now saying that all this information that they put forward, all their verbal handed down history, all their written history, that's got to go to the side, because this one text is 1,000% accurate.
That's what
Most
Billy
people
was
have
saying.
no clue that
He was just saying this yeah, we cannot do that. It's like, if you're African American here in America, right? Like, really, does that the American history book, does it really reflect the history? I'm Native American, right? Does the book reflect the true history? No, it does not reflect the true history. That's all Billy was saying, but he wasn't trying to demean the Christian people or me or you.
Question is, most of that is oral history.
So you see, so now he goes back to, most of that is more oral history. But the Christian thing is also oral history written down. So it's a stupid argument. Oh yeah, your story, oral history. My story, oral history written down. Right.
Correct?
Stone. How about the stone? What's up with the megalithics, please? Where's Huff? I need you to go out there. I need you to go to the bottom of this. Use your methodological systems and use your eugenics and whatever freak you was talking about. And come out, please. Let us know who built the pyramids, because we want to know.
Oh, it's all oral history, even the Bible.
Okay, so when we're engaging with oral history, what methodologies are you using to confirm that the orality is accurate?
That morality is accurate. Wow, we don't know who built the pyramids. Was Huff? What are you talking about, Mister? I know everything.
Well, first of all,
Yeah, he laughed at you, bro. He was just like, yo, bro, this guy is ridiculous. Yo, Billy, you did a bad job, man, at that end. It was just like, this guy was running circles around you, man. You know what I'm saying? You was too passive there, man. You was masculine with that shit in there. You was slacking.
Some of these texts some of these cultures have written down information in caves. You've got cave paintings. The Dogon tribe actually have not only written down.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with that. The question.
So he completely fucking disregards the paintings, the carvings, all the shit that's fucking factual.
Question is one of historic. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. The question is one of methodological analysis. So you have to have a method by which you can find either that something is falsifiable or that there are avenues.
So he has a method, right? My guy has a method. He knows how the world happened. He knows how the world's created. This guy knows everything. Please, what's the method of the Giza pyramids? I want to know how Machu Picchu was built, Mr. Westhuff. Please give me the method.
Used by which you can show internal and external accuracy of credibility. So this is what we do with documents. This is what we do with the ancient gospels. This is what.
See, he says documents. We're talking about stones, Westhuff. And that's basically why I wanted to end it. I felt like Westhuff has an agenda. He made it all about some bullshit. Billy Carson never said he believed in that. He was just coming into your world, Westhuff. He was just saying, look, these are some stories that kind of, since you're Christian, these are some stories that I've read from translation. Obviously, he sounded a little crazy because he said Amazon and shit like that. but he didn't learn that in Amazon. He was just happened to, hey, there's a tablet, and that tablet's translated to a language, and hey, that book is that book, the Bhagavad Gita, all them other stuff, right? Translations of older texts. And yes, of course, they're probably not right because they're translations. But what we're talking with my guy, Billy, is clay tablets, right? And those clay tablets are still there, and you're talking about documents, West Hub. So I think you're wrong. I think it seems like you cooked, but you cook like I'm Latino, right? You cook like some unflavored ass food, and it looks like you cooked. If you like Christian or and you like don't see it from the other perspective, if you're like brainwashed into like Zionism and shit like that, you're probably going to you know get confused, you know. But I feel like Billy was right about what he said, and he even mentioned it, you know, on minute 105. He was like, he said it. He said basically, yeah, like I probably was wrong with quoting that shit. That text that you mentioned, I think was minute 105.
What I do, I've worked on Xenophon and Plutarch, and we look at the internal evidences and the external multivalent corroboration to try to figure out, okay, yes, we have all these stories. Great.
You know, and that's basically it, man. Well, this guy wants to stick to stories and papers. I please go watch the video again. You're gonna notice the agenda is biased. Uh, I feel like this whole thing is connected to megalithics and gold. And when we find the answer for those two things, I think we're gonna get somewhere. But megalithics and gold, it's the key to go forward. I feel like my whole take on this in the Bible, in Genesis 2, it says that Genesis 6:2, it mentions that, you know, basically men, Genesis 6:2-4, the sons of God, the sons of God saw the daughters of men. There's two things over here, the sons of God and daughters of men. You don't say the sons of God saw the daughters of God. It said the sons of God saw the daughters of men. Two classes, genetically modified humans that were created to work to mine for gold. The sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with men, for he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in onto the daughters of men, basically when they got married, or like I guess they kind of has, you know, they did the thing with them, and that they bear children to them. The same became mighty men, which they were all men of renown. So basically these men became the kings. These men were like the only men that could become the kings, and this is how you have all these monarchies, and this is how, you know, it's a long, that's what Billy, this is only a tenth of the whole history. West Hub just concentrated into like making it seem like, oh, you have this wrong story. You're wrong, West Hub. You're wrong. And you know you're wrong. And Joe Rogan, you disappointed in me because you was making fun of like my guy Billy Carson. Like this guy really cooked. He didn't cook, man. He cooked some chicken with no flavor, man. And if you want to enjoy that and want to eat that, you could eat that. But with Billy, shout out. I appreciate you. Keep doing your thing. And it's just my little rant. If you like this, if you want me to talk about my perspective of how I feel, gold, megalithics, ancient civilizations, technology come all together as a pyramid with religion and all these other things. How like Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity trace back all to one thing, and how we all look different. So it's my perspective. Now I haven't read no books, I'm be honest. I have read a few books here, mainly business books and whatnot. But hey, if you subscribe, if this video does a little something, I might just start a journey and never know. Let's go. Thank you.